If this leak is real, then everything Harry and Meghan have sworn to the world doesn't just wobble, it detonates. Because what Tom Bower just dropped isn't gossip you brush off. It's the kind of truth that makes palaces go silent, lawyers freeze, and a prince start pacing the floor at 3 in the morning, realizing the story he sold might finally be eating him alive.
Victim of the media, she was a master of the media and a master of media manipulation. Back to America feeling very, very chagrined, very annoyed that they didn't get the exposure they wanted. Berserk. And said that he'd never spoken to me and had no idea.
Tom Bower didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. All he did was say one thing, one quiet, surgical claim about Harry and Meghan's children, and the internet erupted like someone had pulled a pin. This wasn't about another royal argument, not Netflix drama, not bruised egos. This cut straight to the core, timelines that never made sense, patterns people felt but couldn't quite prove. Whispers that refused to die no matter how aggressively they were buried. And if what's being whispered now is true, the fairy tale doesn't just crack, it collapses. Because this isn't just about Archie, this is about Lilibet. And this is the one subject Harry and Meghan cannot spin their way out of. Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. They need money. Not eventually, not hypothetically, now. The palace went silent years ago, but the deals didn't. Netflix, books, speaking tours. That's the bloodstream. Cut it off and everything stops. And Tom Bower saw it coming from miles away. This man doesn't chase easy targets. He goes after people who don't want daylight anywhere near their lives. He peels back layers until something bleeds. And when Meghan entered the royal orbit, he didn't see a love story. He saw leverage. Harry and Meghan aren't free. They're trapped. Every contract they signed locked another door behind them. Walk away from Netflix, the Montecito mansion shrinks overnight. Walk away from the books, the lifestyle evaporates. There's no safety net waiting underneath this narrative, and desperation makes people do dangerous things.
On a manhunt, she was looking for a husband and an English husband, and Harry was available.
They didn't just sell their story, they sold credibility. They sold dignity. And once you do that, there's no going back. Every hit piece, every public dragging, every raised eyebrow, it doesn't matter anymore. Because there's no other income stream. This is it. So they keep talking, keep revealing, keep bleeding the story dry, even when the audience starts asking questions they never planned to answer. Tom Bower clocked this early. He saw money driving every move. Meghan believed marrying a prince meant billions. Instead, she found out Harry wasn't wealthy, he was symbolic. And now they're monetizing symbolism like their lives depend on it. Because they do.
And now he's going to have to raise his game to make his book saleable, and that's what we'll wait to see what he's going to say.
What they built wasn't freedom, it was a prettier cage. Every private moment became content, every family detail became currency, and that's when people started noticing something felt off. The pregnancy photos didn't sit right. They looked staged, controlled, almost theatrical. Timelines slid around, dates didn't line up cleanly, and once people noticed, they couldn't unsee it. Where were the hospital photos? William and Kate followed protocol to the letter. Steps outside the hospital. Public confirmations. Traditions followed for generations. With Harry and Meghan? Nothing. No standard announcements. No hospital shots. No transparency. Royals don't break tradition casually. When they do, it's for a reason. And nobody could explain this one. The more polished the image became, the louder the questions got, because perfection always makes people suspicious. And behind the scenes, Tom Bower hit a wall. Friends wouldn't talk. Emails went unanswered. Doors slammed shut. Meghan made it clear, anyone who spoke was cut off. That level of control isn't normal, it screams fear. Privacy is one thing, total silence is another. And silence makes people imagine. Missing hospital records, fuzzy timelines, lockdown narratives. Every attempt to control the story just widened the cracks. And then people started comparing. William and Kate's kids are everywhere. With Charles. With Camilla. Birthday posts. Family gatherings. Grandparent moments. Normal royal life documented and visible. Archie and Lilibet? Almost nothing. No cozy photos with their grandfather. No public bonding. No palace birthday messages. No standard acknowledgements that every other royal grandchild receives. That absence wasn't subtle. It was deafening. People began asking whether this distance wasn't punishment, but protection. What if the palace saw something coming? What if they suspected questions that could one day explode? What if keeping distance meant shielding the crown from future fallout? Because monarchy runs on legitimacy. Bloodlines aren't sentimental, they're structural. You don't get to be vague about succession. And that's where the whisper turned radioactive. What if surrogacy wasn't just about privacy? What if biology wasn't what the public was told? For normal families, that's nobody's business. But royals don't get normal. The entire system depends on certainty, names, bloodlines, verification. And then Tom Bower reached into his briefcase. A document. Clean. Precise. The kind that doesn't scream, it devastates quietly. Legitimacy was suddenly on the table. If biological ties aren't what's been claimed, this isn't a PR issue, it's a constitutional nightmare. Titles, succession, history, everything fractures. The palace can't say it out loud. They can't accuse. So they do the only thing left. They stay silent. They keep distance. They avoid full integration. Because silence leaves an escape route. Harry, meanwhile, is unraveling. Reports out of Montecito paint a man spiraling, pacing, snapping at staff, consuming every article, every comment, every YouTube breakdown frame by frame, barely sleeping, obsessing over timelines he wishes didn't exist. The man who branded himself as the mental health prince can't escape his own head. This was supposed to be his redemption. Fatherhood was meant to save him, anchor him, give meaning to the chaos. Now even that's under a microscope. Is he a victim or complicit? Either answer is brutal. One makes him powerless. The other makes him dishonest. And Meghan? She's ice cold, calculated, managing angles. But every attempt to shut the story down just amplifies it. Silence isn't working anymore. Calls for deny testing are everywhere. What began as whispers became hashtags, panels, spreadsheets, viral posts asking the same question. If there's nothing to hide, why not end it? Their refusal to address it has become the story itself. And that's where this fairy tale is bleeding out. Because the longer they say nothing, the louder the question becomes. Who is Lilibet, really? Silence was supposed to protect them. Instead, it turned into the loudest sound in the room. Because when you build your entire identity on truth, healing, and telling your story, silence stops looking like dignity and starts looking like fear. And that's exactly how people are reading it now. Every day, Harry and Meghan refuse to speak. The speculation grows teeth. This isn't just tabloid chatter anymore. This is analysts, former palace aides, legal experts, genealogists, people who understand how the monarchy actually functions, all saying the same thing quietly but firmly. Bloodlines are not optional. You don't get to be vague when legitimacy is the backbone of the crown. And that's why the palace's behavior suddenly looks different when you zoom out. They aren't angry. They aren't retaliating. They're insulating. No statements from King Charles about his grandchildren. No public warmth. No symbolic gestures. No birthday posts. Nothing that binds the institution to children whose status could one day become a legal nightmare. That kind of distance isn't accidental. It's strategic. Because if this ever explodes, and make no mistake, it's inching toward that edge, the monarchy needs plausible deniability. They need to be able to say they never fully integrated these children into the royal framework, that they kept separation, that they protected the crown. And Harry? He's watching this happen in real time. This is the same man who already believes the world is out to get him, who never healed from Diana's death, who carries paranoia that isn't entirely imagined, thanks to real phone hacking scandals that blurred his sense of reality. Now add this. Friends say he's spiraling, not subtly, not quietly. He's glued to every headline, every theory, every frame-by-frame analysis of old photos people are now dissecting with forensic obsession. He paces, he snaps, he rants. The timelines haunt him, the claims eat at him. The idea that his entire legacy as a father might be questioned? That's not just painful, it's annihilating. Because fatherhood was supposed to save him. It was his exit ramp from the chaos. His proof that he'd built something pure, something real, something untouched by palace games and media cruelty. Now critics are asking the one question that shatters everything. What if the children he's built his redemption around aren't biologically his? That question doesn't just bruise a reputation, it dismantles identity. And there's no version of this story where Harry comes out strong. Either he's a man who didn't fully understand what was happening and allowed himself to be carried along, or he knew and participated. Weak or deceptive. Neither fits the image he tried to sell. Meghan, on the other hand, isn't unraveling. She's calculating, tightening control, working angles, applying pressure behind the scenes. But that approach is backfiring spectacularly because control breeds curiosity. People are going back through everything now. The pregnancy photos that once felt stylish suddenly feel staged. The shifting dates, the absence of standard procedures, the carefully curated announcements that avoided specifics. Every missing detail now looks deliberate, and critics aren't wrong about one thing. This could have been shut down years ago. Medical confirmation, clear documentation, transparency instead of mystery. They chose silence instead. And silence metastasizes. Social media turned into a courtroom. Reddit threads became evidence boards. Timelines were mapped. Screenshots archived, old interviews rewatched with new eyes. Every inconsistency stacked on top of the next until the weight became impossible to ignore. And the Sussex brand, the perfect modern family, the Montecito dream, the glossy Netflix glow, started cracking from the inside out. These aren't cosmetic cracks. They're structural. No PR team can smooth this over. No staged photo can fix it. Because this isn't about vibes or optics. It's about legitimacy, documentation, and truth. The longer Harry and Meghan say nothing, the more people believe there's a reason they can't. At this point, it really does come down to one choice. Address it or live with it forever. A G9 test would end this instantly. One move, one confirmation, and the noise dies. They regain control, they reclaim credibility, they move forward, but they won't do it. And that refusal has become the loudest answer of all. Because questions about bloodlines don't fade. They linger, they follow you, they become footnotes in history books. They shape how you're remembered long after press releases are forgotten. Harry gambled everything on authenticity. He framed himself as the man brave enough to break free, to live honestly, to tell the truth no matter how uncomfortable it was. Now, the very thing he claimed to fight, secrecy, is swallowing him whole. And at the center of it all is a question that refuses to disappear. Who is Lilibet? Not symbolically, not emotionally, biologically. It should be the simplest thing in the world to answer. The fact that it isn't speaks volumes. Was Harry naive? Was he complicit? Was he desperate enough to protect the story at all costs? No one knows for sure. What we do know is this: these questions aren't going away. They're growing louder, sharper, more organized by the day. And unless something massive changes, unless real answers come out instead of silence, the shadow will follow them forever. Every project, every interview, every attempt to move on. History doesn't forget questions like this. The fairy tale is collapsing not because of tabloids, not because of trolls, but because silence can't hold back truth forever. And the longer they wait, the more devastating the fallout becomes.